Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Agent Psycho. Hopefully I can get the lighting correct again. So, I've gotten a comment on one of my videos that went up recently asking me of my opinions on the new Combat Arms game. So if you guys don't know, I didn't know this until I saw UCD's video on this, but apparently, a second, or technically a sequel to Combat Arms is coming out called Combat Arms Line of Sight. It's supposed to be the CA2, for lack of a better term. I think I already repeated that already. Great start to the commentary. Anyways, so I watched UCD's video on it, and I went to check out their their Facebook fan page. Hopefully I'll leave links to UCD's video and to the fan page itself after I upload this video, because I've been out of the whole video making thing for about 2 or 3 months now. So yeah, on to the major topic at hand. What do I think of CA Line of Sight 2? Well, CA Line of Sight 2? What the Okay, clearly I'm out of it. Anyways, so I think that's great that CA is getting a sequel. I mean, Combat Arms itself came out in 2008, probably 2007 for a closed beta, but for open public beta, it came out in 2008. And that's basically the first year as far as I'm concerned, because that's when I first started playing too, in the public open beta. But so yeah, that being said, it's been out for 7 years now. This year will be the 7th anniversary of the game, and typically speaking, 7 years is a very very long time for for a game's lifespan. Of course, maybe I'm just not in touch with other older game communities. Like obviously there's Counter Strike, there's Soulsfront 1, for God's sake, that's still around, and that's been around for God knows how many years. And a lot of other games that are still very old yet are still very widely played because they have established this very loyal and very enthusiastic fan base. Um, you know, who always play the game no matter what happens to the game or what happens outside of the game. Like, oh, other games are being released, but still, instead of playing those, I'm trying my hardest not to call them fanboys, but fans, the diehard fans of the game, the people who truly enjoy these kinds of games like Combat Arms and other stuff like that, stick around for a long time. Despite all that, I still think that having a sequel to Combat Arms 2 is still a step in the right direction, or at the very least, it's a welcome direction in my opinion. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of people who still enjoy the first Combat Arms and don't really want to see a sequel, because that's inevitably going to mean that a lot of people who are still choosing to play Combat Arms today are going to inevitably migrate over to Combat Arms 2, because that's the sequel. That's where the hype is behind a new Combat Arms game. So obviously, CA1, we'll just call the original CA1. CA1 will see a drop in the active population, the active community, or whatever. So while I do understand that, I still think that experimenting, well, not even experimenting, taking the game in a different direction, which I'll get to later, is a good thing. And it basically gives Combat Arms a fresh new breath of air, fresh new breath of life. And what I'm trying to take with this, or what I'm taking away from this, is that the people who used to play Combat Arms way back in the day, when Combat Arms was at its height, or not height, at its height, 2009, 2010, those years when, all the so-called famous people on the interwebs used to play it a whole ton, me included, but that was before I made my own YouTube channel and got 10,000 subs from it. That time, and when competitive CA was also at its height, which I'm sure it's still around, but probably not anywhere near the level as it was when Combat Arms was at its height during those years. So where was I going with this? Fuck. Anyways, as you guys can tell, my video commentary skills are very, very rusty right now. But all things considered, oh yeah, right, I remember the fact that there's a new Combat Arms game coming out, the sequel to the original CA. I think hopefully will bring back some of those players who have either left, who have left CA for their own various reasons, or have just stop playing the game altogether, will hopefully come back and try to rebuild the community that the original Combat Arms had in the first place. Now, moving on to the actual intel behind what we know so far about CA2. So apparently, when I watched UC's video, what I took away from his video is that CA2 is supposed to be the supernatural FPS. Like, I would the way that he described it kind of reminded me of futuristic shooters like Blacklight Retribution, which I have a playlist of, and I played a lot of made a lot of videos on, and other games like that. He said that there was going to be psychic, or he said that according to Nexon or whoever's behind Combat Arms 2, said that they're going to focus on the player having these supernatural abilities on top of being able to use like modern day guns and just just like in a normal FPS, and to be able to fight each other, kill each other, and play the game that way. And now that I think about it, it also kind of reminds me of Fear. Yeah, how if you guys have ever played Fear, I've never played Fear myself, but I've watched walkthroughs of it and watched other people play. And Fear has the whole you can slow down time in order to gain an advantage over your enemies. And at least in the original Fear renditions, in Fear 3, you have a lot of other powers because you're actually playing both appointment and I won't get into that. But anyways, so I think that it's interesting. Having played Blackout Retribution before, where it's not really exactly a sci-fi shooter, it's a futuristic shooter for sure, but you still have the ability to use like cloaking. You have the HRV, which is the in-game kind of wall hacks, where by default everyone has the ability to see everyone else through the through walls and throughout the entire map. So there's really no use for wall hacks or anything like that because everyone has it. Why bother downloading hack for it? And other such supernatural or psychic powers such as that. So I'm kind of used to that already, but I do understand how other people don't really agree with that, because Combat Arms, the original Combat Arms anyway, was all about your gun and killing other people, just like any standard FPS shooter. And people are saying that instead of focusing, or instead of bringing CA away from what it used, what it is, the core of its design in this first CA, instead of taking it away, why not just add on to it more and just update the engine to it, because everyone knows that the original Combat Arms engine is kind of bad, for lack of a better term, and provide with better anti-hack, because that's obviously Combat Arms has been notorious for being filled with hackers in the past, especially when hacking was at its height. I remember those days when I took refuge in the black market channel, scumbag Asian. But yeah, that's what some people are saying. I totally get that. I totally agree that Nexon, or whoever's behind, whoever's a publishing studio or developer behind CA2, should definitely focus on updating the engine, or even better, making an entirely new engine. I think when I checked on the fan page, actually, I'll check it right now. You guys can probably hear the clicking and stuff like that. Combat Arms 2 line of sight. Yeah, okay, there's a Facebook fan page. All I need to do is just use my cookie to search it up. So anyways, will this thing even... Okay, yeah. So, let's see. Combat Arms line of sight to line of sight. Blah, 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 blah. FAQ. Blah, 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 blah. It's kind of bare bones right now. But, in any case... I forgot where I was going with this again. Fuck my life. But until I remember what I was trying to say. So Combat Arms 2 is, like I said, going to be focused on a lot of supernatural things. Again, to repeat myself over and over, it kind of reminds me of BLR. But I'm still really interested in where this can go. I'm always open to trying out new games. Like I've tried out the Fear multiplayer game, not the Fear single player, but the multiplayer published by published by Area Games. I've tried I've tried Soulsfront 2 when it was back when it was open beta or closed beta as well. So. Actually, on the subject of Soulsfront 2, that's what I would really compare Combat Arms 2 or the whole sequel behind Combat Arms and the relationship between Soulsfront 1 and Soulsfront 2. Sure, yeah, Soulsfront 2 took a lot of influence from Soulsfront 1 because obviously they share the same title, and with that you're going to see some things that was in the original Soulsfront 1 coming over to Soulsfront 2, and not all the time, or it's not going to transfer well all the time. Like for example, some of the maps don't really play out too well in Soulsfront 2. Like for example, Desert Strike, or what's that map called? Desert? Yeah, it's just called Desert. If you play TDM on Desert in Soulsfront 2, it's just fucking whack. The spawns are fucking messed up to shit, but it's still fun. No one really gives a damn, and people still play it. And Soulsfront 2, look at it right now. It changed a lot of the fundamental core mechanics about Soulsfront 1, and people still play it. People still think it's fun. And, why can't Combat Arms 2 do the same thing? Or why can't people just have faith in the fact that, or have hope, at least hope, that Combat Arms 2 will be able to pull off the same effect? Now, obviously, throwing in psychic abilities and supernatural powers is going a little bit far. It's kind of like how Call of Duty went from Call of Duty Ghosts to Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. But a lot of people were like, when the release trailers, or when the game first trailers for Advanced Warfare came out, a lot of people were like, what the hell is this? Like, this looks like Halo in Call of Duty. Like, we don't want this. But as soon as Advanced Warfare came out, a lot of people were like, oh no, actually, never mind. This is actually kind of pretty fun. This is actually a pretty cool step in a new direction. It wasn't really what we thought we wanted, but hey, it's kind of cool. And I'm hoping that Combat Arms 2 Line of Sight will basically have the same reaction, in the sense that people don't really know what to expect as right now because of the limited information we do have at the moment, and a lot of people are really kind of fearful about what CA2 will really be like. Like, if it's completely different from CA in the bad way, then no, obviously that's not very good, because you can't really have a Combat Arms sequel if it doesn't at least feel like it's playing out like the original CA. I will agree with that, but at the same time, if people are too afraid to try out a new way to play a game that they've always loved, then you're better off sticking with your original rendition, and we'll people like me will be the ones to experiment in this new game and check out what CA2 is all about once we get more information about it, and once we can actually access the game through like open betas, closed betas, whatever. So that's all really I have to say about it. I know this vlog was really all over the place because, fuck, how long has it been since I've done like a vlog talking about a video game like this? But I will try to make it under 15 minutes. So these are my opinions about Combat Arms Line of Sight. I'm really hopeful that Nexon and whoever else is working to develop this game really, first of all, really pays attention to community, because the community knows what it wants and it knows how to say it best. The developers really need to listen to the community first and foremost. But that's not to say that they should completely give in to the demands of the community. Some of the demands that the community makes, obviously they're not really reasonable. But the most reasonable ones should be listened to by the devs and should be implemented with this new upcoming sequel to Combat Arms. That being said, I do really want to see CA2 go in a completely new direction that we won't expect to see coming, because that's really, that's the biggest surprise. That's the most gratifying surprise of the ball, because to play a game that we don't like. Right now we're in the dark, thinking, oh, what's going to happen? What's CA2 Line of Sight gonna be all about? And when we see the first few trailers, once we actually know what it's all about and how it plays out, if it's done well, and if people find out that they really like it, then that's gonna be a huge surprise in the good sense, for the good, and take things for the better. And hopefully Line of Sight will be able to continue the legacy that the original Combat Arms first started, and still continues to have today. I mean, CA is still, I believe, one of the more popular free-to-play shooters online right now. So that's the fact that there's going to be a sequel for this is really exciting, and I really want to see it do well. but it needs to be done well. Otherwise, people are going to commenters is still going to have that stigma of being that free-to-play shooter that screwed up a whole lot. And now look at the sequel. Ho ho! Now we got to laugh at it too, because that was a mess. It failed too as well. Stick the thumbs up our asses. But hopefully it's not going to be like that. And hopefully Nexon and again whoever's developing Line of Sight will do a fantastic job. And hopefully we'll be able to have a new infusion of life into combat arms that we all like to play and still continue to play. So yeah, there's my little 15-minute rambling about Line of Sight. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. And if you have any other questions, or if you feel that I haven't really answered a few points about this new upcoming Line of Sight game, then feel free to leave a comment below. Now that I'm not actually making a whole lot of videos, I'll have a lot more time to actually go through the comments and reply to whatever questions that you might have for me, and be able to elaborate more on my opinions about this game, because obviously I would like to talk a lot longer about it, but obviously making a vlog that's more than 15 minutes, which now it is, so that means I lied, is kind of boring and excessive and not needed. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll stop here.